Imagine this for a moment. You wake up in the morning not to noise or pressure, but to a quiet sense of ease. Your eyes open slowly, and instead of seeing things waiting for you, you see space. The chair beside you is clear. The surface across the room is calm. Nothing is calling for your attention. There is no rush to fix anything. No reminder of what was left undone. Just a gentle, steady feeling that the day can begin in its own time. Now, if you're like most people, that may not be how your mornings usually feel. More often, the day begins with a small weight. You notice something out of place, a pile that grew without you realizing it, a surface that needs clearing, and before you even get out of bed, your mind has already started organizing, planning, and reacting. It's a quiet kind of pressure, but it's there, and over time it adds up in ways we don't always notice right away. What's interesting is that this experience is not the same everywhere. In Japan, especially among older adults, there is a very simple habit that helps prevent this kind of morning entirely. It's not complicated, and it doesn't take much time. In fact, it often takes less than 10 minutes at the end of the day. It's a small reset, a gentle way of closing the day so that the next one can begin without carrying anything forward. If you enjoy calm, thoughtful conversations like this about creating a home that supports you rather than drains you, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. This is a space where we slow things down and look at simple ways to make daily life feel lighter. And as you listen, you might notice one area in your home that feels just a little heavier in the morning than the others. It could be the kitchen sink, a bedside table, or even a chair that slowly collects things. If something comes to mind, feel free to share it in the comments. You're not alone in that feeling. Before we talk about what this daily reset looks like, it helps to understand why it works in the first place. In many parts of Japanese culture, the home is not seen as separate from the person living in it. It's not just a place where things happen. It quietly reflects your inner state, your pace, your thoughts, even how well you rest. When a space is cluttered, it doesn't simply sit there in the background. It asks for your attention in small, persistent ways. A dish left in the sink may seem insignificant, but your mind registers it. A stack of papers on a table might not bother you consciously, yet part of you knows it's there, waiting. These are like open loops, small, unfinished signals that your brain continues to hold on to even when you're trying to relax. When there are many of them across your home, in the kitchen, the bedroom, the hallway, they begin to create a kind of mental noise, not loud or overwhelming, but steady enough to quietly drain your energy over time. You may notice it as a slight restlessness, or a feeling that you can't fully settle, even when you finally sit down at the end of the day. This is why some people go to bed tired, yet wake up still feeling like something is weighing on them. It's not always about how much you did. Sometimes it's about what was never fully closed. One way to think about it is like this. Imagine your mind as a workspace. Throughout the day, you open small tasks without even realizing it. You set something down to handle later. You leave a drawer slightly messy. You tell yourself you'll come back to that pile of old paperwork or a crowded kitchen drawer. Each of these is like opening a tab. And if those tabs remain open, they continue to use energy in the background. You may not notice it at first, but over time, it slows everything down. Now imagine gently closing those tabs before you go to bed. Not perfectly, not all at once, just enough to bring things back to a resting state. That is what this daily reset does. It's not about deep cleaning or trying to make everything look perfect. It's about creating a sense of completion. A quiet signal to your mind that the day has come to an end and there is nothing left waiting for you. Japanese elders understand this in a very natural way. They don't approach it as a task to finish or a chore to get through. It's more like a rhythm they've grown into over time. At the end of the day, they move through their space slowly and thoughtfully, returning things to where they belong. A cup is washed and put away. A surface is cleared. A small area is straightened. Each action is simple, but together they create a feeling that the home has settled. And when the home settles, the mind follows. There is a quiet sense of closure, as if the day has gently folded itself away. This is why their mornings feel different. They are not waking up into yesterday. They are waking up into a space that feels ready. There is no immediate pressure to fix or catch up. Instead, there is room to choose how the day begins. You might sit for a moment. You might stretch. You might simply enjoy the stillness before anything else starts. That sense of choice is something many people lose without realizing it. But it can be brought back. And it doesn't require changing everything in your home. It begins with small, intentional moments in the evening. And one of the most powerful places to begin is not where most people expect. When you think about decluttering or resetting your home, the mind usually goes straight to the obvious places. The kitchen, the bedroom, maybe a closet that has slowly filled up over time. But one of the most powerful places to begin is much simpler than that. It's the entrance. The small space you walk through every time you leave and every time you return. At the end of the day, when you come back home, you're not just bringing your body with you, you're carrying the day, conversations, noise, responsibilities, small stresses you may not even remember clearly. All of that arrives with you, and the entrance is where it first lands. Now, if that space is cluttered, shoes scattered, bags dropped, items left just for now, something subtle happens. There is no clear moment of arrival, no sense that you've stepped out of the outside world and into a place of rest. Your body stays slightly alert. Your mind doesn't fully settle. You're home, but not quite at ease. But when that same space is clear, even in a simple way, the feeling changes almost immediately. You step in and there is room. The floor is open. Nothing is in your way. And without needing to think about it, your body relaxes just a little. There is a quiet message in that moment. You've arrived. You can let the day go. Japanese elders understand the importance of this transition. They don't treat the entryway as a temporary holding area. It's not a place where things pile up until there's time to deal with them. Instead, it's kept intentionally simple and clear, especially before the day ends. Shoes are placed neatly or put away. Bags are returned to their spot. Items that don't belong there are moved on. Nothing complicated. Just a small act of resetting the space. And this doesn't only affect how you feel at night. It shapes your morning in a quiet but powerful way. When you wake up and begin moving through your home, when that same clear path is still there, there's nothing to step over, nothing to shift aside, nothing asking for your attention right away. You simply walk, and that ease carries forward into the rest of your day. For your own daily reset, this is a gentle place to begin. You don't need to change anything about your home. You don't need new storage or a different layout. Just take a minute or two before bed. Look at your entrance the way you would in the morning. Notice what's there, then slowly clear what doesn't belong. Straighten what remains. Leave the space open. It may feel like a very small action, but it creates a clear line between the day and the night. A quiet signal that says, there's nothing more to carry. And once that feeling settles in, it becomes easier to let go of everything else. When as you think about your own home, you might already have a sense of how your entrance feels when you walk in. Some people describe it as neutral. Others notice it feels a bit crowded or busy without quite knowing why. If you've ever stepped inside and felt like you needed to move things before you could relax, that's exactly the kind of subtle tension this habit removes. And from here, There is another space that carries even more weight in your daily routine. It's a place most of us use several times a day, often without thinking about it. A place where small, unfinished tasks tend to gather more quickly than we expect. The kitchen, not in a way that requires a lot of effort, but in a way that gently supports you when the next morning begins. Because how you leave your kitchen at night quietly shapes how your day starts when you return to it. When you walk into your kitchen in the morning, the feeling you get is often immediate. You don't have to think about it. Your body responds before your mind puts it into words. If the sink is full, if there are cups on the counter, or a pan left where it shouldn't be, there is a small pause, a hesitation. It's as if the day cannot quite begin until something is handled first. But when the space is clear, the experience is completely different. You move naturally. You reach for what you need without shifting things around. You prepare your tea or breakfast without that quiet sense of interruption. It feels lighter. The kitchen holds a unique place in the home because it is tied so closely to daily rhythm. When it's not just a room, it's where small routines happen again and again. Because of that, it also collects unfinished moments very easily. A plate set down with the thought, "I'll wash it later," a cup left on the counter, a drawer opened and not fully put back in order. None of these feel important on their own, but together they create a sense that something is still in progress. Many people carry this into the next day without realizing it. They wake up, walk into the kitchen, and immediately feel that they are stepping into yesterday. And that feeling, even if it lasts only a few minutes, shapes how the rest of the morning unfolds. Japanese elders take a different approach, and it's surprisingly simple. Before the day ends, they bring the kitchen back to a resting state. Not perfect, not spotless in a strict sense. Just settled. Dishes are washed and put away. Surfaces are wiped. The sink is left empty. There's nothing waiting, nothing calling for attention. What this creates is not just cleanliness, but readiness. The space is ready for the next use, ready for the next morning. And that changes how you feel when you step into it. You are not catching up. You are simply beginning. Now, it's important to say this gently. This doesn't mean spending a long time in the kitchen every night. It doesn't mean doing everything perfectly. In fact, it works best when it's simple. A few minutes, a small effort, just enough to remove the friction that would otherwise meet you in the morning. Even rinsing and putting away a few items or wiping down a surface can shift the feeling of the entire space. And over time, it becomes less of a task and more of a quiet habit. Something you do without much thought because you've come to appreciate how it changes your mornings. If you think about your own kitchen, you may already know how it feels when you walk into it first thing in the day. Some mornings feel smooth, others feel slightly delayed, and often that difference comes down to what was left behind the night before. If the kitchen is one of those spaces that feels a bit heavy when you wake up, you're certainly not alone. Many people find that this is where the day quietly gets stuck before it even begins. You might even notice that once the sink is cleared or the counter is wiped, everything else starts to feel easier. That's the quiet power of this reset. It doesn't change everything, but it changes how you begin. And from here, there is one more space that influences your rest even more directly. It's not a shared space like the kitchen. It's much closer than that. It's a space right beside you as you sleep. Not the whole room, just that small area within reach. The place where you naturally set things down at the end of the day. A book you were reading, your glasses, maybe your phone, or a glass of water. It seems like such a simple, almost insignificant space, but over time, it begins to tell a quiet story. Little by little, it collects things. A charger that stays plugged in even when you're not using it. A note you meant to look at again. Maybe a few items that didn't quite belong anywhere else, so they found their way there instead. None of these things feel important on their own. In fact, most of them seem harmless. But together, they create something subtle, a kind of background noise, not loud, not distracting in an obvious way, but present enough that your mind never fully ignores it. And your mind does notice, even when you lie down at night, even when your eyes are closed and you're trying to drift off, there is a quiet awareness of what's around you, a sense that there are still things nearby that belong to the day, things to remember, things to return to, small signals that something is not fully finished yet, and because of that, your body doesn't completely let go. You may fall asleep, but part of your mind stays slightly active, holding on to those loose ends. This is why some nights feel lighter than others. It's not always about how tired you are. Sometimes it's about how much your mind is still carrying into the night. Now, when you look at how Japanese elders treat this space, you begin to see a different approach. They don't try to decorate it or fill it. They protect it. They keep it simple, not out of strict discipline, but out of understanding. Only what is needed is allowed to remain. A lamp for soft light, a book for quiet reading, a glass of water within reach. And even these are placed with care, not left scattered or forgotten. There is a sense that this space has a purpose, and that purpose is rest. Nothing in that area competes for attention. Nothing pulls the mind back into the day. And because of that, something shifts in the body almost immediately. Your breathing slows without effort. Your shoulders begin to drop. Your thoughts become quieter, less scattered. There is a gentle signal being sent. The day is complete. There is nothing more required of you. You don't need to solve anything. You don't need to remember anything. You can simply rest. And this is where deeper, more restorative sleep begins. Not from doing more, but from holding on to less. So as you think about your own bedside space, there's no need to approach it with pressure. Just look at it with a bit of awareness. Notice what's there, and ask yourself a simple question. Does this space support rest, or does it quietly keep me connected to the day? You don't need to clear everything. Just begin by removing what doesn't belong to rest. Keep what feels calm, simple, and necessary. And over time, you may begin to notice a difference, not just in how the space looks, but in how you feel when you lie down and how you wake up the next morning. By now, you might be thinking something very natural. This all sounds helpful, but evenings can be tiring. By the time the day ends, energy is often low, and the idea of doing anything extra can feel like too much. And that's completely understandable. But this is where the meaning of the daily reset becomes important. It isn't about effort. It isn't about pushing yourself to do more. It's about rhythm, a gentle, steady way of closing the day so your mind doesn't have to carry it into the night. When people hear the word cleaning, it often feels heavy, like something to finish, something that takes time and energy. But this is different. There's no rush, no pressure to do everything at once. It's simply a few small actions done slowly. A surface cleared, a cup returned, a space settled. And as you move through those actions, something begins to shift. Your home feels quieter, and your mind follows. You're not just putting things away. You're creating a sense of completion, a quiet feeling that the day has come to a close. And when that feeling is there, rest comes more easily. Sleep feels deeper. And morning arrives without the weight of yesterday waiting for you. So tonight, there's no need to change everything. Just choose one small space. It could be your kitchen. It could be your bedside. It could even be that chair where things tend to gather over time. Spend a few minutes with it. Gently reset it. Not perfectly, just enough to make it feel calm again. Then notice how you feel in the morning. Because often it's not the big changes that make the difference. It's these quiet, steady shifts that slowly change how your home feels and how your days begin. Before you go, take a moment and think about your own mornings. Which space feels the heaviest when you wake up? Is it the kitchen sink, the bedside table, or maybe a drawer or surface that has slowly filled over time? Share it in the comments. Sometimes simply naming it is the first step toward changing it. And if this conversation gave you a new way to look at your home, you're welcome to like the video and subscribe. This is a space where we keep things simple, calm, and thoughtful. Because the goal isn't to have a perfect home. It's to have a home that feels lighter to live in and mornings that begin with a little more peace.